Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 14 of our English 3010 online class. Can you believe it? It's the second to last week. I had so much fun seeing everybody who came out to the writing showcase. It was awesome to see you guys face to face and to just feel the great energy that we had that day. And I'm so happy that everybody liked meeting Vivian. She had a fun time too. Anywho, I've got some cool photos. I'm going to try to get those downloaded off my phone, which I'm having trouble with, but I'll post those in the announcements once I get them downloaded. Anywho, here are some things that I want to talk about in our weekly video this week. First of all, I want to go over some basic but kind of important things about Project 4. I want to do a deep dive into the methods in the discussion section because we did a deep dive into the intros last week. I want to do a deep dive into the methods and discussion, and then hopefully everyone will be really supported and set up to finish their whole Project 4. The last thing that I want to do is talk a little bit about next week, which is our last week of class, and we'll go over the expectations, and that's probably about all we'll have time for because then next week I'll post a video for our final week. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so a couple of basic seeming but really important things to note about Project 4. One of the things, I've had a couple of questions about this, and I feel like maybe there are some unasked questions out there lingering. But just so that we all know, Project 4 is a proposal, an academic proposal. You are pitching a study, but you are not required to actually conduct the study. So let me say that again. Project 4 is just the proposal. It's just the write-up of what you would do if you had a lot more time and maybe even a little bit of money or extra hands. But Project 4 is not requiring you to actually conduct the study. So this might help you if you have been nervous about writing up a methods section that you feel like is not achievable. You don't have to achieve it. You're just proposing it in this project. So the second key important thing to know about Project 4 is that whatever methods you propose to use in this study that you're imagining, they should be in keeping with your discourse community. So, for example, within my discourse community, one of the really common research methods is an ethnographic study inside a classroom. That is not a method that you would find probably for someone in the finance discourse community, right? But there are other research methods that are more prevalent, including analysis or studies that are going to use more empirical data or looking through numbers to see trends over time. So whatever methods you decide to use, lean on the knowledge that you've already gained this semester about your discourse community, about how research works within your discourse community, and try to model your methods section after something that is going to be widely accepted in your discourse community. Of course, if you have any questions about that sort of thing, feel free to shoot me an email or schedule a Skype. Okay, so the third and final thing, the basic thing that seems basic but maybe isn't, it's really kind of an important thing, is to note what are all the sections that you need to have within this research proposal. So last week we drafted 2 new sections. Your introduction, where you're going to use the CARS model to establish a territory, establish a niche, and occupy that niche. That happens here in your intro. Your proposal and your methodology and your discussion, these are also sections that you've drafted brand new. You posted them on Sunday, and you are supposed to give each other feedback by Wednesday. The literature review is not an entirely new thing. So the literature review can be copied and pasted initially from your Project 3A because you've already done all of these moves to find sources and synthesize them. Now, having said that, please do not copy and paste and plop it there and leave it alone and think that it's going to fit seamlessly. Of course, you're going to need to revise. Of course, you're going to want to reread your literature review. There's probably even some comments from me on your Project 3A that you'll want to look at. Reread your literature review. Figure out where your two new sources are going to fit in, because your two new sources may actually be helping you hone your literature review, or they may be adding a new section somewhere in the middle of your literature review. But either way, you can, yes, copy and paste initially, but then make sure you're doing your good revision work, rereading, making sure that all your transitions are appropriate, your citations need to be correct, and make sure too that you're seamlessly transitioning from your introduction into your lit review and out of your lit review into your proposal and methodology. Okay, so let's do a deep dive into this transition from lit review into methodology, and we'll kind of look more closely at the methods and discussion section, and then we'll wrap up this video. Okay, methods and discussion, the deep dive. So I'm actually going to back up and go into the very tail end of your literature review before you get into the methods section, because I want to highlight something that Rayanne and I have been calling, quote, the proposal. It really is just a paragraph that you want to make sure you have either at the end of your lit review or the beginning of your methods. It's usually more commonly found at the end of a lit review. It's kind of, you know how we've been talking about the lit review and the intro are like a funnel, and they're funneling down into the main point that you're trying to make. When you're proposing research, you want that funnel to lead to the study you're proposing. So you want a paragraph somewhere that tells us what you're proposing really plainly. For example, in this example, I propose a research study that will hopefully determine whether these positive effects of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act outweigh the negative effects or vice versa. So just remembering that this was a paper where the student was trying to get at the significance of the positive and negative effects. So first there's a sentence that says, this is the study I propose. Here is how the study is going to work. I will first look at various financial statements from different major corporations in order to find any correlation to its passage. Then, certain individuals from major stock brokerage firms and major corporations will be interviewed in order to get their perspective on the situation. So this is a brief summary paragraph stating the purpose or the intentions of the study to fill the gap, usually, and a really quick and dirty summary of the methods. And then you're going to get into and expand on both of those things kind of in reverse order by writing up your method section and then your discussion section. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so the methodology, we know that it's going to be the nuts and bolts, but it's got to be more than a sentence, right? So if you say, I'm going to look through financial statements, that's fine for your proposal paragraph, but then you really need to go into detail about what financial statements, where you're going to get them, how you're going to analyze them, what are the patterns you're going to look for, etc. For example, we say, okay, I'm going to examine the financial statements and interview. This is like just another intro paragraph. If I was going to be really nitpicky with this student, I would press for more information here because this almost seems like just a repeat of the proposal paragraph. But here is where we really get into the goods. This is the nuts and bolts. How are we going to analyze? What are we going to analyze? I will begin by analyzing the financial statements of General Motors, Verizon, General Electric, all of these companies. Now, my first question as a researcher and a research reader and a research writer is from when to when, right? Oh, I'm going to analyze financial statements. Well, we all know that those come out on a regular basis. Why did you choose those specific companies? And from when to when is your window for those financial statements? This student answers those questions. I've chosen these specific companies because it will allow me to see a variety of industries. And then more specifically, I will analyze the statements of corporations released from 2000 to 2003. And then, so for each part of the process, you're going to tell us exactly what, exactly how, and exactly why you're going to use the methods that you're proposing. I'm going to look at these companies. I've chosen them because it will show me this. Here's an example. Then I will look at this date to this date. Why? I have chosen these dates because it's post passage of this bill. So when you get to write your method section, as you can see, you could write a paragraph or maybe even a little bit more, but at least one solid, really detailed paragraph about each research method that you're going to propose. So this paragraph shows us why, the what, the how, the why for the analysis of financial statements. This paragraph is going to do the same thing for the interviews. So when you're writing your method section, make sure that not only are you giving us the nuts and bolts of what you're going to do, but how you decided and why. Why is it important? Now, at the end of your paper, you'll have a discussion/conclusion section where you really want to get into the higher goals. The why is this important? How is this proposed study going to benefit the discourse community? What are some of the key limitations that might come up as obstacles, and how might you navigate them? And lastly, what are any implications? Like, what could this mean for the future of the field? So you can see here, this student is going to go through the results and the benefits. First, to contribute new knowledge, and giving some examples of what this would do to benefit the discourse community. There's a good chunky paragraph of limitations. Do not be afraid to get really specific. If I was going to do interviews as a research method, within my limitations in my discussion section, I might want to talk about, well, what happens if I can't get as many interviews as I want? What might I do instead? Am I going to allow for online interviews? Am I going to be able to interview people at different points in their career? So don't forget to get really detailed with your limitations, because the more you contribute that you acknowledge limitations, the more knowledgeable your ethos will be in the paper as a whole. Okay. And then last but not least, some kind of concluding paragraph that will sort of bring us into implications for the future of the field. All right. Okay, I think that about does it for our week 14 video. Hopefully that helped you guys get a better handle on this project. If you've been looking closely at our weekly schedule, the only thing that we have left is to finish Project 4, and then next week we'll be doing Project 5, which is a quick reflection project. So for the rest of this week, we have no more project builders. It's just you and your Project 4. Put it all together, reread it at least once, but maybe multiple times. Make sure that all your transitions are flowing smoothly and that your flow of logic from your intro to your lit review to your methods is working. Shoot me an email or shout out to Rayanne on the GroupMe if you guys have any questions this week. But yeah, let's finish this project strong and let's get excited for our final project that's going to be happening next week. All right, I will see you guys soon.